Okay, hello everybody, welcome for part 2 of the testing. Alright, so there's a piece of wood here in the forest. It's probably lying here for a while. It's pretty, well, a bit rotten on the outside, but on the inside it's still pretty good. So, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. Okay. Tip is still very straight. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's do the real steel. I have to say I took a closer look on this knife, and the edge is already starting to show a little bit of a rolling at the tip here. So this one took the most damage after the batoning and carving what we did. It's even had a little bit of a chip here, but let's see. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9. One more. Yeah. All right. And the tip is still fine. All right. Now you could do this with harder wood, of course, but I would never do this on a normal basis. All right. So the next knife is the Joker Ember. Let's see how that one is doing. 1, 2, 8, 9, 10. Whew. And still straight. Nothing wrong. It's still on there. So, okay. That was the Joker. And I am left with the last one, the Casström. This one, together with the Joker, is showing the least sign of damage so far to the edge. So let's have a go. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. Ooh. And very nice. Nothing wrong with the tip. So yeah, it can handle a little bit of an abuse. All right. I say they all pass, so whatever they did with the steel, I think they did a fine job with that. I also brought a Morag Companion Heavy Duty as a baseline, so we'll be using this also to have something to set the others up against as a comparison. So let's get started. Just take a little piece, and let's start with the real steel. Just to see, although it has a little bit of rolling, it is actually, I have to say, a really smooth feather sticker. Yeah, comparable. Now we know that the Moras are great carvers, so okay. Alright, so let's get another one. Alright, yeah. I would say right from the get-go, smoother than the real steel for sure. I mean, the real steel wasn't bad, but this is a lot easier. Yeah. Okay, this one, just to see. Yeah, very similar. Okay, let's get to the Casström. Let's just see. Wow, yeah. Okay. Yeah, this thing really wants to go. Yeah, no, just as good. Yeah, this one is a little bit heavier. I can feel it, but not much. More for comparison. Yeah, this is a tough piece of wood. Okay, so just as much effort. And let's do the Nordic knife design. Let's see, this it's got a little bit of a knot in there. I don't know. Let's start with the tip. Nice and easy. So the Nordic knife design, it's either the wood or this thing is struggling a little bit. Let me check if that is the case. The wood is, yeah, but not that bad. Okay. Yeah, this one is picking it up right away. Yeah, smooth, so okay. Yeah, this one, it's just that it's harder to get the angle right, and if you get the angle, it wants to dig in right away. Alright, so I think I made up my mind. I can tell you that the Joker and the Casström are the nicest feather sticking. They are really comparable with the Mora knife. They are equally smooth, and you know, they really want to dig in, but yet you can really make nice shavings. Then the real steel knife, really close, but it just a little less smooth. Could be because of the rolling of the edge, that it has suffered with batoning. And then finally the Nordic knife design, it really wants to dig in, and it's really hard to get it so that it really makes thin shavings. So this is the hardest. You need the most force to actually get it through the wood. So these are the easiest. Then the real steel, and the last place for me is the Nordic knife design when it comes to feather sticking. So the next round we're going to do is just a little bit of whittling. So we're going to make a few tent stakes and do some carving and see how they handle nudges and things like that. So we start with the Joker knife. It's also nice to test the handle with some pressure like this. This is a dead branch, by the way, that I picked up off the floor. And okay, so far so good. All right, so let's say that would be the tip, and we would probably want a notch somewhere. So we make a stopper cut, and we just carve into it. I mean, it goes well. The handle doesn't have hot spots. That's good. Yeah. All right. You know, it's just for the idea. All right. So something like that. I mean, it's just for the idea. Maybe we want the top shaved off. Get the Casström. Okay, I would say no, the same. No real difference there. All right, tip. Let's make a notch. Yeah. Okay, it takes a little bit of effort, but it does a great job of cutting. Okay, so you know, the Casström, I would say in comparison with the Joker, they're very similar in performance. So let's take the Nordic knife design that is showing sign of a little bit of rust, but okay, let's go and cut now. It really wants to cut, but it's like it has more drag going through the wood or something, which is kind of weird. Maybe something with the angle of the grind, but it feels like really heavy. I mean, it's sharp and it cuts for sure. Okay, let's make a notch. Oh, and it slides through. Not deep enough. The wood is pretty dry and hard from the floor, but all right. So the notch. All right. So it does cut. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's struggling. It's hard. I mean, it's heavy cutting with this knife. I mean, yeah, this is so much smoother. I mean, yeah, much more effortless. Yeah, the same for this one. I don't know what that is, why that is, but all right. And I have the real steel knife, so let's do one more. Okay. Yeah, okay. So let's do a notch. Yeah. Okay, not bad at all. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that would work. A little bit more work than the Casström and the Joker knife, but not bad. Yeah, so all right, I think I know. So my conclusion for now is that Casström and the Joker are the easiest slicing all round, right in par with the Mora knife, then the real steel, and then the Nordic knife design. All right, let's give it to my cameraman and let him play around a little bit and see what he thinks.
I've been cutting for a while now, and my conclusion is that the D2 is a bit hard, but okay, you get through the wood, like, acceptable.
The real steel.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Then the Joker Ember. Bit the same, I think. Don't feel much difference from the real steel. Well, maybe the real steel is a bit easier, I think, even than the Joker. Okay, so now the Casström. Different piece of wood. Really hard to get through.
Yeah, you switched from natural wood that was a little bit wet to the really dry wood from the...
Yeah, maybe I need to have the wet wood again. Yeah, no, okay. The Joker and the Nordic knife design first, then the Casström, and then the D2 steel. That's my final
that's your
conclusion.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And then we can go on to the next one, which is the handle. A bit of a spoiler alert, they are in a specific order here, but let's start with the knife on 4th place for me. The handle is the real steel, and I tell you why. The handle is really smooth. I mean, I have medium to large hands, and I mean they feel great, but the handle is really thin, and that means that when I grab it, I'll show you this way, my fingers, my nails are really digging into my hand. So when I squeeze it, it really becomes a bit painful in that respect. And the same goes for the top here. That is very narrow, and when you're carving, the strength is on the, let me say, on the front of the handle. So you carve down and then you get this motion, and the pressure is all here, and there's not enough, let's say, volume here in the handle to keep that comfortable. It's also a little bit sharpy. There's a little bit of acute angle here, so that makes it rather painful, kind of angular there. Yeah, so that is another hot spot for me right there. And then at the back is another hot spot, because that is really sharp as well, also very angular, and that makes it really painful in other positions, like in the cutting position where it's in the palm of your hand, and anything you do with prying and making a hole for the bow drill is going to be painful. So that really starts annoying after a while. I mean, not if you carve for like 10 minutes, but when you're carving for like half an hour or so, it starts to annoy. Things I do like about this handle is the finger thing here. What do you call it? The finger rest place for the handle. So if you do other cuts like this or this towards you, I mean, that is really nice. I mean, they've done that really well. You know, the handle is beautiful. It is really nice with liners and stuff, but too thin, too sharp. So yeah, a lot of hot spots. So for me, this is the last place. Then third place for me is the Brisa handle, or the Nordic knife design, because they are very, very similar. Now, it is a very comfortable handle. I mean, it's really smooth. It fits my hand. I have fairly large hands. Like I said, I will put the size and stuff in the screen so you can have some idea of the measurements. But there is a little bit of a problem here. First of all, you can see the swell here is pretty pronounced, and if I grab the knife, you get the idea. The middle fingers, they come right there where the swell is the biggest, and the outer fingers actually get into the dips here, and it means that when you squeeze, obviously the middle fingers have the most pressure here on the steel, and since it is pretty narrow here, I don't know if that is at all visible. It is pretty narrow there at that top part, meaning that it is a lot of pressure on your fingers. And now I have a bit like bony, I mean they're very thin, so that annoys the crap out of me quite soon. So although the handle all around is pretty nice, as soon as you start using pressure, it becomes sort of like a hotspot. The back side is also very sharp. I mean, the wood here, now that could be fixed by yourself, I guess. It is pretty sharpish. So again, if you have another grip like this, this is really painful. I mean, just this rounded edge here in your palm, that is really painful. So if you do any prying or I mean, it really pushes into your hand here. Really painful. So again, a hot spot. There is not really a finger rest also. I mean, it slopes down a little bit, but there is nothing that really helps you put your finger on there. So it's either on the handle or it's on the blade, but in between is also painful. So that's the reason it became third for me. Now I ended up with both the Joker and the Casström, and let's start with this one, because as far as handles go, when I grip this is really one of the best handles I ever had in my hands. And I've had quite a lot of handles I tested a lot of handles by now, not just the knives I own, but you know, from other people borrowing them. And I know the Mora Companion is really comfortable for prolonged time, but this one is even better. I mean, in terms of the shape, really, really nice. There are only two knives that I can think of that come close, and that is the Condor Bisonte and the Casström, actually, of the knives. And of course, yeah, the Mora Companion, but that is plastic molded and stuff. But this is really a beautiful handle. Now, why didn't it win? Because it has a few minor points that I think are important for me, at least. First of all, the handle, as you can hopefully see, it flares out to the top. So there is no finger rest here. It's either on the blade or on the handle, but you can't put it like halfway or something because it is just flaring out. And that is really comfortable if you use it in a fist grip, but not if you want to carve and do other things with it. And another thing is the back side, because it has that thing sticking out. It's not bad because it's rounded, so it's still pretty decent if you use it in another. I mean, when I hold it like this, it doesn't even bother me much, but it's not as comfortable. It flares at the back as well, which is nice. So if you want to do some chopping with that, that is really nice grip. This will not come out of your hand, and with the lanyard, it is pretty good. So all in all, I mean, as a grip, the best I've ever felt. Condor Bushlore also comes close, but this really, really is a nice handle. But only in this grip. In other grips, it is not that great. So it's not all round very nice. All right, so we get to the Casström. And, well, you guessed it already by now, but this is the one I like the most. It has a really good grip. Not as nice as the Joker, but it is close. I mean, it is really nice. I mean, it fills your hand pretty good. It could have been a little bit more. I mean, I have fairly large hands, like I said, so a little bit more beefy would have been great for me, but it's still very nice. But it has a few advantages. First of all, it does have sort of like a finger rest there. It is not too great, but it's there. So when you put your thumb up here, it's still pretty decent. Yeah, you can use it. It has a nice finger grip here. Finger guard, what do you say? But it's not too big. It's just right. It'll do. I mean, it's really comfortable. I also like the fact that this blade starts right from the handle, giving you a lot of control when you do carving. But, you know, that is for the end conclusion. The blade, it tapers down, which means that if you grab it like this, it literally follows your hand. So that is comfortable. It's completely rounded at the back. So if you do, you know, prying and things like that, that really is smooth in your hand. It has a lot of beef on top, especially here at the front. It's still a little bit flattened, so there is enough place to put pressure on without getting any hot spots. So all in all round, this is a really, really great handle, and that's why this one for me is the number one, gets 4 points. I think in the end the handle is more important than the steel, because if you create hotspots, when you really do some carving, after maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you start to get annoyed. That really spoils the fun. So put some effort in finding out what handle is really comfortable for you in the long run. I'm not talking about 3 minutes, cutting some paper and doing one feather sticky and then say, oh yeah, it's a nice knife. Yeah, every knife is nice. If you do only one feather sticky in 5 minutes, that's not going to create hotspots. But if you carve for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, you really notice the difference between one knife or the other. And you'll find the handle to be far more important than the steel. Yeah, all right. So let's get on to the next round. Okay, so let's do the sharpness test after everything we've done with the knives and see if they are still, well, somewhat sharp. Pieces of paper and of course the knives, and I want to start with the Nordic knife design with the 80 Chrome V2, and it is sharp-ish at the base, but at the belly part it's really, well, struggling. All right, so that is that one. Then the D2 steel, it's, let's say, the same problem at the belly, but it's still really sharpish at the beginning, sort of. I mean, it still cuts pretty nice. It feels really sharp here at this part, where I did a lot of carving with making the baton, and but here with cutting the rope, I think took some extra damage. Well, okay. Then new piece of paper, the Casström. Yeah, what can I say? It's almost like I mean, it is somewhat sharp, but it really drags through the paper. It's not really bad, but it's not great either. So I would say a little bit in par with the D2 steel. And then the Joker Ember, and I saved that one for last because that one surprised me. The 14C28 steel, and that one is still pretty sharp. I mean, yeah, it did take some damage at the belly as well, but the rest is still cutting pretty good after everything we've done. I have to say that in terms of sharpness and the steel, this one took the least of damage and kept its edge the longest. Okay, hello everybody. The conclusion, finally, after all the cutting and slicing and whatever we did, we finally came to a sort of like a conclusion. So I will just go over the knives one more time quickly and give you my opinion about the knives. Now, I'm not going to go into too much of a detail because we already did all of that in the videos. So okay, let's start with the real steel knife. Now, again, for the price, you know, it's really cheap, but it is in D2 steel. Now, I suffered some rolling on the edge with batoning, so I don't know if that is a heat treat thing. The quality of the D2 from China, I don't know. But anyway, if you're looking for an all-round knife for around the camp, just for doing rope and a little bit of whittling and carving and doing all that stuff without really going into heavy bushcrafting, I would say that this knife is a really good choice. One thing, you have to have small hands, because as soon as you have bigger hands like me, this handle is like really annoying. So you won't last like 15 minutes carving with this, because it will give you so many hot spots. But if you have smaller hands, then it is actually relatively comfortable. But okay, the real steel. Then maybe the complete opposite is the Nordic knife design. Now this 80 Chrome V2 steel, not the best keeping its edge, but it didn't suffer any rolling, any chipping, no nothing. I mean, this knife just kept on going, and it really wants to bite in. So if you're doing more of that heavy bushcrafty stuff, you know, really making like campsites and doing all those bigger things with wood, then this is maybe a good choice. It's not as good in feather sticking and all that lighter stuff and nudges and that. I mean, it just doesn't want to do that very well. But the rougher, you know, going into hardwood, it really wants to cut in. So, you know, that is what it does very well. Well, I don't know. I mean, it looks nice. The handle is okay. Not my best handle that I ever felt, but okay, it's a great knife. Yeah. All right. So the two knives that I think excelled in everything we did is the Joker Ember and the Casström. So which one would I choose? Well, if I'm looking at my own experience camping, hiking, light bushcrafting, I would probably go for the Casström because it performs pretty well all round, and the handle is just very nice shaped for all round uses. If you want to know all the details, check out the video, but it just grips in all kinds of ways, very nice. It doesn't give you any hot spots. The steel is decent enough. Very comparable with the 14C28 from the Joker, the Sleipner from the Casström. So they both held up their edge. So this is a really nice all-round bushcrafty choice. Now if I were to go a little bit more towards the bushcrafting, then I would probably go for the Joker Ember. Why is that? Well, first of all, the 14C28 steel is really, really good, and it's a little bit better against rust. So if you live in a more wet environment, then this will hold up a lot better. And it's easier to sharpen, yeah, than the Sleipner. So that would probably be an advantage in the field. And the handle for really like bushcraft tasks, like push cuts and doing maybe the bigger stuff, it really is phenomenal how this handle is, you know, fitting in your hand, especially if you have bigger hands. So bigger hands, more bushcrafty, smaller hands, a little less bushcrafty, but still it can do the job. Both of them can. So you can't go wrong with either of them, but there are some differences that you might want to check out. This one has no ricasso, which I like. The Casström just starts right from the get-go. The Joker Ember does have a ricasso. Now that has its advantages. Concerning the finger guard and the distance to the wood and stuff. The Joker Ember has a little bit more of a drop point, where the Casström has more of a spear point. You know, there are some differences. They come down to personal preferences, but both knives are really, really well. You really can't go wrong with either of them, but check out the handles, because the handle is far more important than the steels. In the end, none of the steels were really, really bad. So, alright. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.